So, welcome everybody to our third LinkedIn live session here from me being your host today, and I'm not alone here. My name, for those of you who I haven't met, which is probably most of you, my name is Tino Engel. I'm the lead facilitator here in Germany, and I'm from a company called IMPROV Communication, and we are specialized as a training vendor, specialized in a sense, guiding teams to more collaboration, more communication, and more connection. But we do it a playful way by using principles from the world of improvisational theater and applying it in business. And I'm not here just by myself. I'm here with my friend, my buddy, my colleague in improv and in all the trainings, Gordon. So Gordon, welcome on stage here as well. Looking forward to another wonderful conversation today. So doing well so far?
All good so far. Few little technical difficulties in this setup as always, but I think we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, that's uncertainty, right? That's you can plan as much as you want to, and there are always surprises in life. And maybe we discover the one or the other further surprise here today. Big hi and welcome as well to everybody who's not live with us today, but who's going to watch this video. Maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe in the future. Hopefully, we will still be able to get in contact with you that time. Now, we thought about this, right? And we had a discussion about how can we make this whole LinkedIn Live a little bit more conversational, so to speak. Yeah, now I think it looks a little bit better. And we thought about what is it that people are interested in? What are the questions that are coming up constantly? And one of them was, guys, how do you get into improv? First of all, what was your encounter? Because for a lot of people, I would say probably 90% of people, at least in the trainings workshops that we deliver, don't know very much about improv, and they encounter with us witnessing improv the first time. And so Gordon, why don't you kick it off and tell us, how did you get into improvisational theater? What happened?
Well, I actually, strange enough, I came into improv through quite an untraditional way because I actually trained as an actor many, many years ago. And as an actor, obviously, after that, I went into publishing because there was no acting work around. And while I was in publishing, that took me down to Dubai, as publishing will at some point. Yeah. And while I was in Dubai, there was a small studio theatre. It's still there now, called the Courtyard Playhouse. And I found this place because it was run by an English guy, and he was doing sort of serious drama, but also he was doing improv on the side. And this was the first time I'd sort of thought, oh, what is this improv kind of for comedy?
Yeah.
So I got into it through the cultural side, doing comedic performance. But then sort of when I came back to Copenhagen, we then sort of part of the company that is now IMPROV Communication, we were also doing work with businesses, because the skills that we need as comic improvisers to create like a 35 to 40 minute fully improvised show out of nothing, those skills of communication, collaboration, understanding, building on each other's ideas, they're exactly the same skills that you can employ as part of your team building and to create much more efficient and coherent teams. And that's what kind of blew my mind. I thought, wow, I love the fact that this isn't just for fun and sort of cultural, and that's it can actually be, and we see it, you know, we're very successful at doing it, at implementing it in business environments. But we like to think we maintain that fun element as well. Well, you know, people taking away some very important lessons about how they work together. So,
it's so interesting. I mean, you had to travel essentially to Dubai to meet it, right? Luckily, most people don't have to. If you look around, on the one hand, I mean, once you understand what improv is about, also like the principles, you will see it all around you, right? When you think about it, like differently than I thought about it the first time I encountered it. If we think about it like there are people coming together, with a common goal. Usually in improv, it's I would say most of the time it's like creating great stories, engaging stories that people hopefully applaud. They come together in that environment, and at the same time, it's an environment where there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of change. I mean, it's communication that's almost always 100% uncertainty, right? Because there's so many things. You never know what the person next to you will do or say next. And yet in that environment, still coming up with stories needs like collaboration, needs effective communication, needs so many things like the ability to let go. And those are things, once you apply that to real life, not just business, but real life, you see it all around you, right? And I bet like everyone who has kids, they exactly know how valuable the skill of being able to use that skill of improvising. I mean, the moment you leave the house in the morning for kindergarten, you have a plan, you gotta let go because somebody else has a different story, right?
And children are amazing improvisers.
Yeah.
They're doing it all the time and again, they're doing it to learn about the world, to learn about relationships, to learn, how they exist, where they fit in, what their boundaries are. So we actually grow up improvising all the time, and then it's only really when we sort of come into formal environments like school, university, and work that we then sort of we kind of judge ourselves on how good we are in our improvisational skills, because there's safety in routine, there's safety in repeated action. That's safe, but that isn't always a great capacity, if you like, for development and growth and expansion. And if you want to do that as a team, then you need to all be on the same page. So that's when the real kind of communication side of improvisation really comes into effect.
Yeah. It's so funny when you said this. Like, kids do it all the time, because a great ability that children have is they don't overthink it. They just do it. They are in the moment, and when you observe them, it's sometimes very hard to get them out of the moment, which is actually pretty mean, but sometimes you have to, because it's kindergarten time or school time. And it's so interesting. I remember when the first time, it was in 2016, where I encountered improv. It was a communication training. I signed up for communication class. I think it was about rhetoric. And I felt, well, it's always good having a better understanding of language. Now I can use it in future trainings. It was a group of like 8-9 people. It was really far north of Berlin, so it took me like 2 hours getting there. So I got into contact with the other participants. The trainer was still not there yet, and it was a Saturday morning. And at one point, she comes into the room, she introduces herself, and she said, let's warm up a little bit and play a little bit improvisation. And I think she even mentioned like theater. I remember like telling myself, I didn't sign up for it. My first instinct was improvising myself out of the room, right? I didn't want to do it because I started overthinking it. I said, I don't want to be funny. I'm not here to learn to be funny. I don't want to make things up. I don't want to come up with crazy ideas. I'm here to learn about communication. I ended up staying there that day because I felt like we invested 2 hours getting here. You're not getting back your money, and you don't want to come home having ruined the Saturday morning family breakfast and then coming back telling my wife, well, it wasn't a good workshop because the opening was crap, right? So I stayed. I don't remember anything from the workshop, but I remember the feeling. I was laughing 2 days. I was learning so much about communication in a completely different way. And that was an eye-opener. And ever since, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then you see it everywhere. And you see especially the things we have lost seemingly, but that are worth rediscovering. And talking about this, like you already mentioned, like you discovered also like the passion for using it, like in business trainings, outside the world of theater. And let's transition a little bit to also the point that we announced in the description, the impact on teams. We're using it in teams. And that's sometimes for people hard to imagine, okay, how does that help my team? If I'm in a workshop and we learn about principles from that world, what would you say, do you have an example or a story? Because I bet you do. So would you share that with us?
We've had a few kind of occasions. For example, we did a workshop in the UK, and a couple of weeks later, and it was a fairly new department. People were kind of coming together sort of for the first time, and they didn't really know each other that well. And then within a week of them returning to work, everybody had, they printed these yes and T-shirts for everybody as a reminder, kind of like, this is the mindset we've told ourselves we're going to have, and this is how it's going to be from now on, kind of thing. So and that is the thing, we can go in and do a 3-hour workshop if you like, but ultimately we can't dictate, what you want your new kind of company ethic to be. You have to decide that for yourselves. And so it's great when the company sort of really embraces one of our guiding principles and puts it on a T-shirt. So it's like, and everybody's wearing these T-shirts, and it's like, this is what we've agreed on. So this is the attitude we're going to have, and seeing things like that being embraced. There's another situation just from, we were in London last week, and one of the guys over there, he was like saying from a previous workshop that, there were these two guys, big burly guys who he worked with, and they were just banging heads all the time. He couldn't get them to agree on anything. And then just doing an exercise that we do is where they discover what each other's kind of love, or what they have a passion for. Obviously, these two big burly guys suddenly discovered they both loved rugby and they both played rugby. And all of a sudden, this banging of the heads just disappeared. It was kind of like, it was almost like, oh, that's inconsequential. Wow, rugby, yeah. Let's communicate on that level. And it's a lot of the time is just that easy. It's getting under this superficial business skin that we put on a lot of the time, and getting to the heart of the people, and that's what, and making connections. That's the most important thing. When you connect with somebody on an emotional level, as these two rugby players did, everything else goes out the window. You can work your way around everything else because you've got a much stronger connection, stronger bond. So we see it a lot of the time.
I like this point of like finding similarities, right? What is it that we have in common? Because it's very, very often very easy to find the things that we do differently, right? Where we differ in many ways. And if we focus on that, well, then it's tougher to connect. But if we find things that we have in common, and I this morning with a trainer colleague of mine, we had it was a discussion about opening what my trainer colleague, and she's right, a sensitive topic, and it was rather about like public speaking, and it was about this. And I have done it with a friend of mine back in the days. What are the worries that you have that stand in your way, that stress you when you think about giving a presentation to colleagues, maybe in a high-stakes situation, to the board, or situations like this? And we had a discussion about this. Well, shouldn't we focus on the positive things? In other words, what makes you get excited about giving a presentation? I said, yeah, sure, that is bonding as well. At the same time, I remember that situation, being in a room, and I started without overthinking it in the beginning, just letting people write down their worries and then having a talk about it. And the moment they realized, well, there are so many, 20 people in the room, and almost all of them have this sentence like, I'm afraid of looking like an idiot. I don't want to black out. I don't want to miss important points. Right? Things like this. And then they had a discussion about it, and they realized, well, we all have the same worries. And you could feel like the tension went away. They even started laughing, said, isn't that stupid? We're all smart people in good positions. We have survived life up to this point, so we must have done some stuff right. And yet, we have those thoughts. And I thought, well, the thing is, this connects on the one hand, and once it's out there, it loses some of the pressure, and then we can start working, not getting necessarily rid of them, but rather developing a different relationship. It's fine thinking, oh man, I might black out. Yeah, that's a friendly reminder from another voice in your head to be prepared. But develop a friendly relationship with those thoughts. And
that's very interesting because, they reckon about 95% of people suffer from stage fright, and you kind of think, well, yeah, because it's a very unusual, high pressure thing to put yourself in that situation. Those who don't suffer from stage fright, they're either extreme extroverts, narcissists, or they're people who have trained themselves to be confident in those situations. But it's definitely not a natural thing, so and a lot of presentation is just being comfortable in yourself. It's kind of like being happy that I want the audience to see me. Yeah, I value myself and I value my identity, and that's what they're going to see. And once you're comfortable with that, then first of all, you get so much more diverse opportunities to see, different sorts of presenters showing themselves in different ways, rather than just everybody PowerPoint. So there's so much more opportunity there. Yeah, and once you do it, the sky's the limit, basically, because you can talk in front of 5 people, 20 people, 100 people, whatever.
Yeah. That saying, sky's the limit, costs you like $5 here. So next time, like a deal on you. But you're absolutely right. And I'd like to pick up one point that you said, and because I really feel that is the power that comes with using a playful approach. Very often we know things. Like when we are and I play around with this example when we talk about, for example, like public speaking, being on stage, and I ask people, when you have been like a spectator, being in the audience, and you listen to someone speaking on stage, and you realize, oh, this person, he or she is stuck, black out a little bit, you see that they're cramping up and everything. Ask yourself this: when you observe this, what do? You say, oh man, I enjoy that so much. I like to see that person suffering. Or are you crossing your fingers? Please catch up the next line. I want you to move on and catch your thought and keep delivering it.
Yeah.
99% of people say the second version, and the other one, you don't want to deal with them. They're like psychopaths, so to speak. But at the same time, when we are on stage, we might forget about it. Right? We forget about the fact that the people that are in the audience, they are not mean. Like in business, when somebody drops an idea, they're not doing it to hurt you or anything. It's just like they usually have a positive intention. And telling people is one thing, letting them experience that, I think that's where the power comes in from any playful approach. And I feel like, also being a little bit biased here, specifically from improv, right? Because of the parallels between improv and business. So experience. Talking about this.
At the end of the day, just to add to the point, getting back to like the kind of the business team building side. At the end of the day, when you see a good speaker or presenter, at the end of the day, all they are good at is connecting with their audience and connecting with the topic they're speaking. They're speaking through themselves about the topic to the audience or with the audience. It's the best speakers are people that you feel like, oh, I'd love to meet him in a pub, or I'd love to meet her in a pub. To speak to that person, because it's so much about being comfortable and being personable and just connecting with your audience. And that's exactly the same as like work colleagues. Your favorite work colleagues are the people that connect with you, and connect with other people in the group. They're the ones that bring the group together. So the more we can learn how to connect with each other in a work environment, the more fruitful our relationships and our work environment is going to be. The more productive we're going to be, the more invested we're going to be. But it's all about connecting with each other and being invested in each other.
Yeah, and when you said that, linking it to sometimes the confusion between improvisational theater and business, one thought that came up is, correct me if I'm wrong, because you have much more experience with the theater part, but I feel like theater is really about someone is playing for you. Right? You observe someone playing, you enjoy the play, you have fun, you laugh about the joke or the story. But when it comes to business and collaboration, it's a different story. It's more playing together. right? And I remember this one phrase that an improv teacher shared with me once after an exercise, and she always said, "Don't play with yourself." And we had an exercise. Everybody was contributing one word. It was an association game. Yeah. And she said, don't plan ahead, because that means literally you are playing with yourself. The other person is just decoration.
Yeah.
I said, wow, that's so true. Yeah, because I was playing with myself, because I was building associations based on what I've said. Then I was, quote unquote, listening to the other person, but my association was planned 1, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. Yeah. Which is not the idea, because then you are playing with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think improv can really teach us some good lessons. What you miss out when you do.
Yeah, definitely. And it's these kind of exercises where, you know, you have a team of, let's say, 5 people, and you have to tell a story one word at a time going along the line, until you feel you've completed your story. They're kind of almost like metaphors for the working process. That, you know, you do your individual bit, whatever that might be, but also at the same time you're thinking of the next person as well, and the person before you is thinking about you. How can I make their word or their next task easier for them? And when you start to think about that, and you think about that in a kind of a circular motion for all the people around you who are working with you, then that's when you really begin to be more productive. Because then you also build a trusting environment where, again, and it's building that psychologically safe environment as well, where you feel that your contribution is valid, whatever that contribution might be. However great or however small, it's valid. It's part of the whole process. And when you work as a real team, not like in football where you have the captain of the team and he's the one that tells people where to go on the field, or the train on the side. You know, when you work as a real team where everybody is equally valid in that team, then that's where the real efficiency and the real strength and ideas come from, because you trust each other. You have psychological safety.
Yeah. And it's I love this game. For those of you out there that are not familiar with it, which might be most, it's simply like you are creating a story, right? Word by word. Everybody, like 5 people standing in a circle. You have a topic, and then you create like a story, or you write a letter together. Everyone is contributing one word, right? And then another word, but always in that order. And I think when you set metaphor, this works so well and shows the difference between, oh yeah, I know that we should collaborate and that we should not do everything just by ourselves, or experiencing it, and then experience first and then reflection in the moment where they are still in this the state of arousal. And I remember, like, in one workshop, it was a 2-day workshop that wasn't led by me, because they had like strategy planning. So they had a moderator. And when they finalized the agenda, they realized, well, we have a lot of heavy stuff. The first day, it's a lot of crunching numbers, laying out the strategy. That will be intense. So they were reaching out and asked, can you do something like 2 or 3 hours in the evening or late afternoon that eases things up? I joined them. It was a great crowd, but they were really exhausted because there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussions. And then we played this game. And one lady in the reflection round said, it was so great to realize I don't have to write a whole story just by myself. And at this point, she wasn't talking about improv. She was talking about business, because she said, that's what we did. That's what I feel very often. It's I have to write every single word to push the story and business forward. And now I realize I don't. Everyone in the team, if I let them, can contribute. Word by word, step by step, action by action. And that was a massive relief. And you could see in her face that realization where it sounds so trivial, but when you experience it and find the right spot and then say, let's pause for a second, what was going on in your mind? How did you feel? What made you feel engaged in it? That you feel we are moving forward? And what was blocking it? And then we can say, hey, translate it to business. how can we get the same feeling of the same process into business? And people come up with answers, but it all started with experiencing it, doesn't it?
Yeah, every time. You have to,
Yeah.
especially because we're dealing so much with our emotional responses to the situations that we're in at work. You can't PowerPoint your way around an emotional experience. You have to put yourself
Very
in
hard.
that situation to realize,
Yeah.
oh, actually, this is how it feels when I'm being judged, for example, or when I'm judging somebody else.
Yeah.
Now let's do a different exercise let's adapt that exercise so we take away the judgment as an example. How does that feel? And for most people, it's kind of like, wow, that was so liberating. That's how the way just as part of that, the way I often think about our job is that we're kind of a reset in some ways. But I also like to think of it as like when you're studying to go into the work environment, you have this, sometimes you have this dream of like, oh, I'd love to work in this kind of office where everybody worked together, where everybody, sort of supported each other, we engaged, it was vibrant, it was energetic, we had ideas and we took them on board, and like everybody, we have this dream of entering into the workplace. Nobody has the dream of going into a workplace and thinking, I want to be judged every day. I want to have my ideas shot down left, right, and center. I just want to sit at my desk, stare at my screen, not talk to anybody, and then go home. That's not a dream for anybody at work, yeah? So why don't we try and embrace that first dream? Because it is possible. And that's what we hopefully open the door to say, it's up to you. The people in this room, it's up to you. If you want to have a workplace that you look forward to coming to, where you see friends as well as colleagues, where you feel that you're valued and that you feel that you have a personal journey that you're on as well through your job, then it is possible. You just all have to create the environment in which that can thrive. So the dream is there. We just have to be honest with ourselves, adapt some behaviors, and then run with it, run with the principles.
Yeah, I like that. The dream is there. It's up to you to execute it, make it come true. Although that sounds, maybe I put like $5 into into the bottle as well. That being said, I had like 2 people reaching out to me last time, and they asked, well, it would be great if we could give them some very practical tips, very quick, easy to execute tips. What pops up in your mind when somebody would ask you, what tip do you have that I can apply in life, in business life, that would make a difference in, metaphorically speaking, experiencing and writing a greater story in business, in life, in friendships, etc.? What would you say?
I would personally say, and I'm talking from my perspective now, I would personally say, be less judgmental. It's an inbuilt, innate human thing to judge, because it used to be thousands and thousands of years ago a survival thing, to be able to judge the enemy, to be able to judge does that animal like me or not, but it's still there. It's still in a amygdala, this judgment, but it's just not so necessary these days. Maybe you have to have some level of judgment, but it should be the last thing we do in a civilized society, in a civilized workplace. So I personally, and I'm as much a victim of it as anybody. And I judge people, and then I meet them, and then I go, wow, I was so wrong. And I used to do that so much more, and kind of now I sort of go, no, hold off judgment. Meet that person, talk to that person, be open with that person, share things with that person before you judge them, because you're cutting yourself off from so much possible joy, life experience, learning, sharing, if you judge people. So if we could get less judgment in the workplace and more support and collaboration, then that would change the world, basically.
Yeah. I think the judgment part.
Writing books in the tin.
Yeah, so you're getting poor, and I get rich here. I think, and that's linking back to what we said earlier and spoke about, like this judgmental part. This is like, I feel like it gets more and more and more the older you get, up to a certain point, and then I feel, hopefully, it gets less. It gets less because the thoughts are still there, but the relationship to them are different, and I think that is really that really changes the relationship, changes to those thoughts, right? They're still there, but we're not clinging to them anymore, and I think that's really helpful. And when you said this, you still have it, right? But you have developed a different relationship to it. I think like it's really useful learning to don't take yourself too serious. Don't blame yourself if you catch yourself that, oh, I was really judgmental here. That's not a good thing. I shouldn't do it. People say don't judge at all. No. Find ways to laugh about yourself. That, well, you know what? I thought this person he's not a great person. He's probably pretty arrogant. And then I got into communication. He was the nicest person on planet Earth. And Tina, what were you thinking? So laugh about yourself, learn from it, and don't take your own opinion too serious, right? And life will be much easier. That's what I feel. So
always be open for that opinion to change. That's the other thing as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
An opinion is based on knowledge up until that point. Yeah. Don't tie yourself to opinions. Be always open to change your opinion. That's the other thing I've learned as well. There's so much knowledge in the world that you know, you never know everything. You never
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah. So and if you believe you do, you should definitely attend one of our workshops. That's like the promotional disclaimer here. That being said, we also have a comment from Fiona. Yeah, from Fiona. I bring it up. Fiona, I don't know what went wrong with the sound, but you will definitely get the recording. And we have even something that is, I would say, even better. As you can see in the bottom already, we are offering the people, because we believe in experience being so powerful, much more powerful than whatever we say. And we're offering like free taster workshops online that you can join with the click of a button. Just go to that link that you can see scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Sign up and experience it yourself, meet other people, network, learn something that you can use in business. And if you ask me, if you ask us, even more so for life. That being said, I would say this concludes our third LinkedIn Live. We will come up with many more topics and we'll meet again in 2 weeks, Gordon. It was, as always, a pleasure. Thanks for joining. Thanks for continuing the journey with me. I really appreciate that. Lots of fun. And now, last minute, where we show some more information about the workshop. See you guys next time, and have fun with playing and writing stories in live.